Here I am, broke down alongside of the road, waiting for roadside assistance. I keep looking in my mirrors to see if he's coming. So far, he did call, but so far he hasn't arrived yet. I'll keep you posted. So as it turns out, I blew one of my driver tires, the inside right rear driver tire, and in the process of peeling off, it broke 3 cross members underneath the trailer. So it looks like instead of making my delivery, I'll just be turning around and going home. So we're limping along to a wide spot so we can change the tire. It was 34 degrees this morning. When I stopped here in the dark, I thought I could see little frost, like, it couldn't have been snowflakes because there aren't any clouds. Fog flakes, maybe. Could tell it was going to be a bright day. Hopefully I'll have some of it to myself, for myself. But if you think about it, all the time there is our time. Wherever you go, there you are. And how you choose to feel about things is who you are. Yep, he was right about the wide spot. Almost like he'd been here before. I better wait and see. This way. He's looking at it still. Okay. He said his hose is only 75 feet. The boss won't buy him 150 feet. I'll let you draw your own conclusions. Is somebody operating in bad faith if they go with loyalty over, sorry man, I forgot to switch to the new speed limit, so I'm going to let him around me. I'm glad you got to see that hillside though. I won't edit anything out of there because I want you to see the whole thing. It's amazing how many leaves fell in the last 2 weeks, just in my own yard. So loyalty versus complacency. Well, not versus. Think about them in a package. Loyalty, complacency, playing the field. When the snap, crackle, and pop has left, do you want them to legislate that the other person stays with you when you are less excited than you used to be? Or less exciting, either one. I think loyalty sometimes kills the buzz, and it makes it hard for people to want to be there. And then there isn't any joy in it. The other side of the coin is if you're in a situation where the other person has options, you have to try harder. And if you have options, they have to try harder. It's interesting on the open market, the open meat market. When you look around, what you feel like attracts you may be different than what is attracted to you as you get older, especially. And if you're looking around and somebody is willing to pay the price in terms of, let's say, whatever the price is. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's loyalty, interestingly. Sometimes it's when you think about how to be a partner in a way that is demanding and controlling. And sometimes that's the price that the other person pays if you're controlling, or the price you pay if they are, or maybe you both are. And maybe it's very difficult for anyone to put up with either of you, and you keep limping along together. There can be a very steep price to pay if someone is attractive enough but is also a control freak or a narcissist. But let's assume very healthy personalities. And let's assume two people equally yoked, equally attractive, equally productive, maybe. However you want to measure value. Equally valuable. Even then, complacency creeps in. No matter what. And it's possible, if the door is open, that you won't go through, or you won't at least leave the other person. Maybe you'll have two partners, or three, or maybe you'll experiment and then you'll figure out that you're happier with the person. The door stays open, but you don't have to go through. You just see that it's open and perhaps dally now and then, but increase in depth the appreciation you have for each other. And increase your level of courage. Because that's what I was positing earlier, that if the whole point of this is to stop being afraid, then a partner who challenges you to be your best self, your most valuable self, can help you a lot. Learning not to be afraid. You can find so much growth when you have somebody who, in good faith, let's say, or not, either way, challenges you and can teach you what you won't put up with. It can teach you to draw healthy boundaries. It can teach you to move on if that's what's needed. And if you move on, maybe both people will learn over an intervening time enough to want to come back again. But growth is the point, not loyalty, not getting through 50 years with the same person as its own end. Loyalty can't be the point, I think, if you're going to be healthy. That grove of trees up there, of fruit trees, is so beautiful right now. And this junkyard coming up probably looks better right now than it does all year. I pass it pretty frequently. Yep, it's looking pretty splendid. That old bus especially. over safety, and I value learning not to be afraid over never being challenged, then you won't agree with any of this. But if you come to the conclusion now or down the road that you want to be challenged, you want to grow, and your values match that, then you'll change your tune about loyalty. Or you'll change your definition of loyalty, which would amount to the same thing. So, update on the tire that blew. They ended up putting 2 new tires on to replace the 2 recaps. Well, actually, one of them was a new tire last summer because another recap on the same side blew. So now I have 8 drive tires, and the 2 on the right and the back are both new. I don't know. I don't know if I want to wait for the other 6 to blow or not. It'd be kind of nice to have new tires for all of those, but the recaps look brand new, so probably isn't going to happen. The trailer was damaged. 3 of the cross members in the trailer got bent and mangled by the tire when it peeled off. And the floor, the insulated floor, you can see the insulation through some holes. And so if a forklift were to go on it right now, it would not work out too well, I don't think. So instead of picking up the load I was going to pick up in Pittsburgh, they just turned me around. I offered to haul it tomorrow on a Saturday if I could trade that for some other day that I'd like to, some other weekend day or holiday that I'd like to not work in the future. They said they'd get back to me, so I don't know if I'll be hauling tomorrow or not. It's interesting that the leaves haven't left as much, like Piglet said, the leaves that are leaving here on this hillside. But on the hillsides I was just traveling, they were a lot browner than this one. So I don't know. It isn't any farther, or maybe a tiny bit farther south, but hardly. Not sure. But you could see that the peak had definitely passed, as beautiful as it was. And here we're still pretty peaky. If I were stumbling on this channel now and I didn't like all the batshit stuff, I would probably just turn the sound off and watch the leaves fall. I was trying to stick my hand out the window and catch one. I was trying to catch a virgin leaf before it hit the ground, because those are lucky. Here comes more. I swear this is possible. I feel grateful that I get to drive in such beautiful places. As I drive by the sheets and I see the diesel for $5.99 a gallon, it makes me want to share with you all the rumors I've been hearing about how high diesel is about to go in the next few weeks. And one theory is that it's about trying to get office so we can take away women's rights because they're blaming Democrats, you know, that they're just controlled opposition. They're all on the same team. The Republicans and the Democrats are all happy to help oil companies, but sometimes they have to look like they're not happy about it. But at the end of the day, who pays them after all? But I have a feeling that we aren't supposed to know about the oil prices going up except for that purpose, to maybe the owners want to change so that Republicans can get blamed again for what they want to do next. But make no mistake, the owners will have their way, and the politicians are just there to give you the illusion that you can fix things by voting. But I guarantee you, you can't. You never have, you never will. And no matter how serious the issue, actually the more serious the issue is, the better they can jerk your chain around with it and get you to do what they want and rubber stamp whatever they're trying to do. Well, you voted, right? So it's your fault. That ain't it, kid. That ain't it, kid. If voting did anything important, they wouldn't allow us to do it. Someone much more famous than I said that. And that was only a cheap paraphrase. Instead of thinking too much about that stuff for the last year or so, I've been thinking more about the micro instead of the macro. And some have told me, oh, I wish you were still talking about politics. I have a unique perspective, I think, but I don't think punditry is going to do anything either. Voting isn't going to do anything. And if I were a pundit that was actually able to get the word out and change people's minds about things in a way that made them go up against the owner's wishes, I'd probably end up in a ditch somewhere, which is fine. That's a good way to go. But I doubt they'd ever let my voice get big enough that anyone could hear it. And increasingly, I'm becoming okay with that. You might say that my zeal is less zealous, or you might just say, I can see what matters, and running people around in huge groups trying to get them to change their destiny may not actually help them as much as I'd like to think it would. That's pretty deep. Just take a peek at that one. It may never look quite like that again. I was just pondering, and I often think out loud that it's a lot of work to find somebody new. This goes with what I was saying earlier. And it's sad if you say to that person, well, at least you know how to treat me like you think I'm important, like you think I'm valuable, because it probably will wane the kind of treatment you get from anybody. And then you're probably, especially if you're an essential worker, you're probably maxed out right now in terms of time and effort and energy. And it's a lot of work making someone new feel like they're important. And I'm not advocating for being complacent in a new or an old relationship, but there are shortages of energy in our lives right now. For my part, I'm thinking it would be, you know, I could meet someone new who would be very special, I'm sure, and deserve great treatment. And I don't think I could really do that person justice. I would hate for somebody to feel as though they're less important than they are to me, you know? I don't want that. And I don't want to be a loner either. I don't want to sit around watching YouTube videos all day. Sometimes it's nice, but that isn't the kind of life I want. I want to be connected. I want to be meaningfully connected. And I want to have enough time and energy to make the person or people feel important the way I want to feel in their eyes. And I want them to have the resources of time and energy to spend on me because they want to. It's not easy. I don't advocate using leverage on people, but at the same time, situation leverage that just kind of imposes itself is probably okay. And that's what the universe does to me. It doesn't let me get complacent. It kicks me right in the ass every time I need it, I think. And I'm grateful for that. And I know that the universe kicks me sometimes the best through the foot of a partner, or a child, or a student, or someone else who's really important. And my adversaries are important too. They all serve a useful purpose in my life. I think when I'm in the right place, and I'm grateful for all the things that I'm learning, I'm willing to make the effort. I'm willing to expend energy that I didn't even know I had and make it all work somehow. That's probably good for me. I'm grateful for being able to see things from the perspective of not being afraid. The fields and the flowers and the trees and the clouds, the hillsides, the rivers and the lakes and the ocean, it doesn't look the same as it ever has. And a lot of that is just not being afraid. And I'm grateful for every force. It's awful because I'm not obedient. I don't feel obedient at all. But I still realize that all of the adversarial forces that work on behalf of our owners, whether we can see the owners or whether they're even higher than we can see, I'm sure that's all helping me somehow. And I have to say, I've never seen a fall in my life that looks to me like this one looks. And I'm sure it has something to do with all the things I've been learning. So hey, I want to show you something. This is from the top of Turkey Hill. See? And then this is looking down the power line. Off into the distance. If I had a castle, I think I'd put it on top of Turkey Hill.